All right, we are live for the Friday edition of the Morning Check-In, and as always, looking forward to connecting. Excited to be back before you guys, and lots of things worth touching on. And so I have a lot of tabs open and two stories that really caught my attention that I wanted to comment on and share my 2 cents on, of course, and to get yours as well. And it has a lot to do with the multi-front war that it looks like the U.S. Not only is being drawn into, but it's my suspicion, and I'm sure yours as well, that the Biden administration wouldn't mind drawing our country into it before the election. It just seems like everything is prime and ripe for a U.S. intervention in the Middle East. And the question will be, how will China and Russia respond, given that they are backers of, friends of, supporters of Iran, and all this is centered around the narrative placed on Iran being the funders and the primary provocators of terrorism and everything else. Something that the U.S. has been saying for what, a decade plus. And so, what a coincidence that right now appears to be the timing to do all this. So, we're going to talk about this, a couple other things, as well as a internal conflict that we have here domestically with our own government sabotaging American citizens in the Eastern Hemisphere, and particularly the Appalachian mountain region, as a result of this uh, anomaly, the storm that happened to have swept through and strategically took out a lot of areas that, from an article or from a clip I have here, appears to be more intentional than accidental and all that other stuff. So I got the tinfoil hat here. So if I need it, as always, just put the tinfoil hat on. We can go far right field, far left field, whatever you want to do. So definitely look forward to sharing my thoughts on that. But before I move forward, let me make sure everything is flowing smoothly, and then we'll jump into it, man. Start off with some good news, look at some market activity, and I can't help but comment on today's job figures and how timely they are, given we're 4 weeks away from the election. And what better way to kind of juice the markets and make this current administration look good other than to throw out a overly surprising job figures. So we're going to talk about that and a couple more. And always, for those that are watching, definitely leave some comments. I need feedback. But it's going to be an interesting day, man. Interesting day to say the least. So I want to just dive right in, share with you some good news to get your spirit, man, charged up. I want you to be blessed this morning. I want you to be charged headed into the weekend, because it just seems like within the next 48, 72 hours, it wouldn't surprise me that the U.S. would be experiencing some type of intervention, given Israel's response on what's happening with Iran in the next day or two, with all this, them forward guiding, Iran as to what they're targeting, when they're targeting, and everything else. So, man, it just seems more like I wouldn't say staged event, but it just seemed more like all this is orchestrated as a part of a script. It's just, none of this feels authentic. It feels intentional, and I'm assuming you might feel the same way. But then again, we'll find out. But all right, hope everyone's doing well. As always, if you haven't, hit that thumbs up button, show your support for the channel. Just take a minute, scroll beneath this video here, hit that thumbs up so the algorithms will know that people enjoy this type of content. And then make sure you subscribe, hit the bell or follow, and make sure you hit the tab so that you're notified when I put up videos as well as go live. So let's jump right into it, man. Let me get myself situated here, and we're going to have some fun this morning. We're going to have some fun this morning. At least I am. I know I am. So let me get myself situated here. All right. So, okay, we got to make this work. All right. On the screen here, October 4th, it is the opportunity to plug into the kingdom real quick, plug into this power source, which is the Holy Spirit is available to us right now to give us everything we need while in this life. Thank God. And so today's word is endued with power. And I'm going to read it, and hopefully it's a blessing to you the way it was for me. That's why I want to share it. It says, the kingdom of God is not just about words, it's about power. Jesus made that clear when he told his disciples to wait in Jerusalem. Quote, you will receive power when the Holy Spirit has come upon you. Acts 1:8. What power is he talking about? It's the same power that parted the Red Sea, the same spirit that anointed prophets, kings, and priests. Now, through Jesus, we have access to this power. This is what Joel prophesied when he said, I will pour out my spirit on all flesh. Joel 2:28. It's the power to live in victory. So, to walk in the authority of God's kingdom here on earth. We're endued with power, not for our benefit, but to expand his kingdom. So today, if you feel weak or weary, remember you've been endued with power from on high. We've been enwrapped. We've been clothed with power, not on high. It says not for our benefit, but for the expanding kingdom. It says, let his spirit lead you, guide you, and transform the world around you. And then it ends with a quote here from the scripture. It says, behold, I send the promise of my Father upon you, but tarry in the city of Jerusalem until you are endued with power from on high. Amen and amen. So I hope that word got you fired up this morning, got your spiritual wheels churning a little bit, because when I came across that, that's what it did for me. So hopefully it passes it on to you, my friends. Be blessed this morning with that good word. Okay. Let's real quick here. I'm gonna do some shout outs to my people. Got to always big up my partners. And so, as I mentioned, I talk a lot about the real world issues we face from a natural standpoint. And then it's what you do with it in the practical that will make a world of difference for yourself now and in the future. It's, once you have all this knowledge or this foresight, it's about taking action steps and then wrap it all up in the spiritual side of things and let God do the rest. And so here are some of the practical ways you can protect, preserve everything you work so hard for. And it starts with this right here on the screen. Give me 1 second. Let me get my screens up. And so I want to make sure I always remind those who are in the community and who might be new to the community that there are options out there for people to take possession of their retirement portfolios in a variety of ways. These are some alternative methods that's available to everybody in a self-directed IRA. And here, my people at Colonials Metals Group allow people to do such a thing. And so if you're interested, right along here is a form. Fill this form out. They will contact you and you can ask all the questions you need to get everything answered to make sure that this vehicle might be of something use to you, because there's no better time now to get physical with gold and silver in your possession directly or in a depository somewhere near you to protect and preserve yourself in the short term. And so once again, just a strategy for those to consider. If you're interested, links in the description, and also the numbers where to give them a call to get your questions answered. And then next, I want to talk about opportunities in the gold space. And so fractional gold is pivotal. Fractional gold is the most affordable way to get 24 karat gold in your possession. It comes with the premium on top because it is a service, it is a business. But when all else fails, such as this stuff here, you will do better off with these as a strategy rather than having none. So this is just one of many ways you should be getting your weight up. This is just the most practical and affordable way because it'll be useful for barter's sake, I believe personally. And then if you're on the West Coast, and I think Wyoming, Utah, and I think Nevada, if I'm not mistaken, they actually have locations you can go do transactions with them because they are tender instruments in those regions. So if you're interested, buygoldnotes.com is the place to go. And it's in the description there. Take you right to this page and you'll be blessed. So, okay. What else we got here? Let's keep it moving, man. Let's keep it moving. I want to just real quick skim the market so we can see what we see here and go from there. Give me a second. Let me get this on the screen here. Okay, here we go. So as of right now, this is what the market's looking like. Let me refresh the screen so you guys can see what I see here. And as of right now, this is what we're looking at. Let me get myself situated. We have gold is in the red due to those juicy numbers coming out of the Bureau of Labor Statistics. Those figures are something else. Anyway, we got gold at $2,657. Think about that. $2,657. That number to me is just still shocking to me. And then, this is a side note. Give me 1 second here. There's something else I'm going to. I just haven't had the time. But I want to share with you, and I always comment and quote Peter Schiff just because he's a very knowledgeable person in this space. And he's been calling and predicting for over a decade now what he expects and what he witnesses. And so here, just this quote here is something that really got me excited about what lies ahead. This is from the article that Peter Schiff did with QTR Finance, Fringe Finance. And he was quoted as saying, based upon all the stuff right now, gold could 10x rapidly to $26,000 an ounce. Think about that. So I don't doubt that because there's no limit to the destruction in fiat currencies at this moment. So there's no ceiling to the nominal price of an ounce of gold, as well as silver, platinum, palladium, and everything else. And so just think about that number, $26,000 for 1 ounce. And, one of the benefits, I think, of having the fractional gold notes is that the average person can't afford $2,600 right now. We know the average person don't have a savings or emergency fund. So they can't go out and just drop it on an ounce. But you can get something in the form of, fractional gold, which is 1/1000th of an ounce. And I did the math on that, and I mentioned it, I think, the other day on another video, that as of right now, this over $5 times 8 would give you the same equivalent of purchasing power when gold reaches $26,000 as it is when you buy this right now or redeem federal for that now. So you're not losing anything by being able to grab a hold of these notes here, even though they carry a premium. That's where I see a lot of people like, man, them notes are so expensive. They're not expensive relative to what you're able to secure. You're able to secure some purchasing power in a very micro dosage form. But anyway, so I just, I see people's points, but then again, I'm trying to focus on the average Joe and Jane, the average person who don't have resources. They have a method. Of course, get your silver. Of course, get your junk silver. Of course, get your pre-64s. There's no doubt. But then again, it's good to have a couple of different strategies within that. But anyway, I'm ranting too much. Okay, let me get back on track. Come back in. Okay, forgive me. I just get carried away. I just had so much fun with this. Okay, but just the article about Peter Schiff really got me fired up. Give me a second. Let me get back on track here because I got too much. I want to be short and concise with everything. Okay, so just just once again, just these figures here are different. Anyway, so this is what today's activity looks like. As we can see here on the screen, let me get myself out the way here. This is what the markets opened up as. Literally, markets opened up on a high note, but because the powers that be can't lose a narrative, they had to try to slam it down. And of course, it's rising back up, both gold and silver. And right now, silver at $32.42. This right here, this is the anomaly that is really concerning to the bankers, because that number there, the higher it goes, the less of a narrative, the less control they have over what's really happening. And literally, I'm starting this off talking about we're days away, 48 to 72 hours potentially away from a global event, i.e. confrontation abroad and confrontation within our own country. And I'm about to elaborate on that. Why I'm going to elaborate on more of that now. But the point is, with this figure here, if a bomb is dropped by, let me throw out some names now, Russia or China, in retaliation for what's happening or what will be coming to Iran the next couple of days, perhaps, you better believe the U.S. is going next. So it's going to be China, Russia, Iran, and the U.S. on a multi-front war. And this right here won't be like a quick, we send one, you send one. This is going to be something, I hate to use quotes from other commentators like Gregory Manarino, but I have to, of biblical proportions. And this number here, it will shoot up so high, so fast that it's going to be jaw-dropping. Okay. So, yeah, okay, I'm gonna stop right there. Okay, I'll keep moving. Okay. So, real quick, I have to comment on these figures. Like these figures, to me, once you know better, you know better. But this is what we're given today, and I'm gonna give you why this is BS, BC, bullcrap. The U.S. economy added 254,000 jobs last month, blowing estimates. Let's think about this: blowing estimates out the water. Anybody in the alternative world, everybody who's listening to the sound of my voice, you know this is some bullcrap. Because previous events tell us that they have no obligation to tell the truth, because everything is done strategically to calculate according to the way they want the markets to respond. Okay, so what better way to juice the markets in the short term other than give us some fictitious numbers that really don't matter, because we know by January of next year, all this will be revised down, and it's going to show an unimaginable amount of jobs lost. Okay, so that's truth. I've been showing you week by week every single corporation laying off. How in the world can you get 254,000 jobs unless you're talking about part-time gig workers? Okay. So take that with a grain of salt. You guys know. But let's rewind the clock a little bit. This year, same time last year, this is what an article came out. This was from, let me give you the time frame. This is from, let me give you a date here. Give me a date. Where's the date? I saw the date. It was September. Okay, it says, this is, okay, let me find the date. Where'd the date go? Okay. Let me give you the date. 10 years. Let me say, no. Okay, give me a second here. So anyway, this is an older article. Where did the date go? Man, they switched up on me. Okay. But older article. This is last year. So it says U.S. jobs growth surges past expectations with 336,000 new posts. So you see the words surges past expectations. So their expectations is so bogus that they make it seem on the headlines that it should be surprising. It should shock us because of how great the economy is doing. But this says bond sales off reignites after September figures fuel investor anxiety over higher for longer interest rates. So as I mentioned, this article is old and it had the date on it, but this was this is 2023. So last year around the same time, we were given some very large figures. As you says here, the U.S. added 336,000 new jobs in September, far more than expected, pushing bond yields to a 16-year high, whatever. So last year, the Bureau of Labor Statistics, which easily surpassed expectations of 170,000 new jobs, reignited all bond sell-off. So last September, at this same time frame, 336 jobs were announced. Okay, it was very suiting for that time. Now, let's move it a little forward. Give me a second here. Let me get myself situated here. So let's move forward slightly, and I'll show you something that is alarming. Okay. Then months later, particularly last month, I'm sorry, U.S. jobs have been revised down by 818,000 for the 12 months through March of 2024. So from March of 24 this year to March of last year, those figures they gave me, including that 336 I just showed you, was fictitious because a total of 818 was revised down, meaning they lied. 818,000 jobs did not exist, including that 336 and everything else of last year. So we know this is full of crap. So don't believe this one bit. This is all about this right here. Literally trying to juice the markets. As we can see here, things are very greenish this morning with a little bit of red, burgundy, showing that it's more favorable. Stocks are more favorable this morning due to these type of activity right here, where you get so much enthusiasm in the markets because the economy's strong is what they would want us to believe. But we know different. Okay, so I got that out the way. So that's out the way now. So here's the next point. Back to next 48, 72 hours. The possibility of a geopolitical event that is a biblical proportion. And this is something my believers we need to pray against, that we don't encounter something like this, even though we know that there is an event coming in the future that is of biblical proportion because gets us on track for where we have to go in reference to, the return of the kingdom and everything like that. Okay. But in the meantime, if we can pray and prolong this and get more souls brought in, saved before then, that'll be something worth celebrating. But let's just get into what's happening here. Give me 1 second here. Let me get some stuff on my screen here. I want to start off. Okay, let me get it. Okay. So now that we have the fact that the Biden administration now is proactively involved in the narratives coming out of Israel. So here we have, this was midweek. So I have to build this up. This is from October 2nd. So 2 days ago, Biden says he opposes potential Israeli strikes against Iran's nuclear program. So this was the headline given out based upon whatever information we get from the Biden administration. But we know that because he's captured by the war industrial complex, military industrial complex, all the complexes, because the big guy always gets his cut, we're going to be in a conflict. It's just a matter of what. I would imagine, especially with all this political stuff going on, that they wouldn't mind having a reason to declare a national emergency, declare some type of something to prolong or to suspend elections, or you get my drift. It's in their favor to do this. And so here we have the idea of a strike. So Biden literally opposes nuclear, but he is okay with Israel striking something. And so this was floated out there in response to what was happening in Israel. Okay. The very next day, Biden says discussions being held on possible Israeli strikes on Iran's oil sites. So no nuclear, but you can go oil. And the fact that our headlines involve us in this, with the fact that our president is speaking on behalf of our nation in reference to what's happening with Israel and Iran, is alarming. But I know that we've been captured by the state of Israel. I know we take orders from them. I know that. Hopefully you do too. That's why Netanyahu was here last month Congress gave him a standing ovation, clap, and they sent him home with 4 or 5 billion for this type of stuff. So that's just more of evidence of how we've been captured as a nation. So none of this should surprise you. But the fact that nuclear is off the limits, but oil is on. Okay, so what does this mean? So if Israel retaliates, which they will, at say just for example, they'll make a headlines, and this is how you know all this is kind of scripted and necessary, I guess, for them. Saturday morning at 1800 hours UTC, we gonna attack the oil refinery on Boulevard. You know what I'm saying? And that's what they'll say at the headlines. And so Iran has a chance to prepare, empty out the facilities, drain all the oil, whatever, so they can experience this damage. And then they say, "Oh, we've been attacked." And you see, this is how these things can play out. I don't really believe that any of this war is really 100% genuine, because nobody goes to war telling the enemy what time they're coming. They have a reason of doing that these days. So whatever. But my point is, once a bomb drops on a major natural resource such as oil, that impacts the entire oil market. We know oil price is probably going to, take a climb higher than what it is now. Let me actually look at what oil is. Give me a second here. Let me look at what oil is at this current moment. So as of right now, oil is on the move. So just by looking at it, look at this. Oil is on the move. It's $74 a day, down slightly, but overall it is up significantly from yesterday, $1 or $2 or so, give or take. And it's good to say, if an oil refinery is attacked, it's going to take off to 80, 90. I even hear forecasters in this world predict some, throw out some figures of, $130, $140, a barrel oil. So think about what we're paying on the pump. So when a bomb drops over there and oil spikes, think about your pockets when it's time to put some gas in your tank. Because wherever you're at now in the country, you thought it was high. If it goes 140 during a presidential election, and this ain't good. So you can see why it'd be more of an incentive to have the Biden administration get involved, because it'll be a way to juice the markets, and we got to pass the Save the Middle East Act. We need $4 trillion because we've been attacked, and we associate ourselves with Israel like we're neck and neck. And there's place for that, biblically speaking. But then again, given its current environment, this ain't got nothing to do with bringing glory to our Savior. You can believe that. Anyway, okay. So to keep this going, I want to give you more. So why am I saying all this? Okay, because as a result of all this, we had an attack. Israel is just on a crusades in the Middle East, and they bombarded or attacked a Russian artillery bunker or base in Syria. And that's a no-no, because they deliberately attacked this facility knowing that it belongs to Russia. This is a way of poking the bear, in a sense. So yesterday, Russia announced that every Russian citizen should leave the nation of Israel. So Russia, this is breaking from yesterday. Russia has ordered its citizens to immediately leave Israel after Israeli airstrikes attack the vicinity of the Russia's base in Israel, in Syria. In light of the extremely tense situation in the region, Russian ambassador Tel Aviv recommended that citizens in Israel consider leaving the country while, quote, while such opportunities exist. While such opportunities exist. So are they foreseeing a time where the opportunity may not be available for you to leave because the airspace may be closed down completely, and whatever happens, you're stuck? That's probable. Okay. He said this in an interview with us. So 1.5 million Russians live in Israel. Russia is warning its people to get out before it's too late. Something big is coming. Russia also begins to evacuate citizens from Lebanon. So with all this evacuation, all these concerns of a possible greater confrontation, you better believe if a Russian asset, Russian citizen, or Russian citizens are killed in this Israeli situation, it's going to be hard for Russia to sit back and not, I guess, defend, protect their own. So what is I'm saying? Russia can get drawn in. And the reason this is of importance because you don't have, let me share something with you. And I mentioned this before. You don't have all this preparation for nothing. And what I'm referring to is this. Let me bring some stuff on the screens for you real quick here so you know what I was saying. Here is just something, a headline that's worth bringing to your attention to remind you what they have already been training for. This is from an article from 2022. Iran, Russia, China hold joint naval drill amid growing ties. So with Iran now being a part of the BRICS nation, I'd imagine there's some type of security guarantees that come with that. And so you attack one, you attack all, Possibly. I don't think China and Russia will remain neutral in this excursion if it gets to that point. So Israel is deliberately on this mission to start a global war because they know that they will have a protection. They know that they'll have American troops at their disposal because they have the Americans in their back pockets and front pockets. But they got their hands in our pockets, whatever you want to look at it. So they don't mind going to war because their nation is only Israeli population is, very small. And of course, in previous events, due to God's favor, they can overcome any size army if they wanted to. But I don't think this is necessarily a God ordained per se event that they're trying to start. I think it's the other ruler that they're more so obeying his orders. You guys know what I'm referring to. But point in case is multi-war front is happening right now. And this is just on a geopolitical front. So depending on his next strike will determine the response Iran makes and the damage done. And then we'll see how Russia and China responds if they decide to protect some of their assets and interests within the nation of Iran, because they have a variety of partnerships and deals and investments spent within that country, oil, the payment structure that they are working on, So there's a lot to move there. Okay, let me keep moving. So we'll have to wait and see. But the other war front we are experiencing here is domestically against our own government. Sad to say. Here is a clip. And I posted this in Telegram. So if you're not in Telegram, I encourage you to join so you can stay on top of these, because these things are not really, I can't post to YouTube because YouTube, you know where they're going with this. Anyway, but this is from Chris Martinson. So he's everybody should know him. If not, he's a medical scientist, medical doctor, medical scientist did a good job covering the whole health situation 4 years ago. He's grown substantially, has a nice large following, but he shared this from one of his members of his community about what's transpiring in North Carolina now. So it's very long, so I can't read it, but I can just sum it up in a sense. One of the author's buddies lives in North Carolina, has an Airbnb property, and the city that has currently been confiscated by the government as a result of the contamination and all the devastation. The government has come in and seized property, and the people within this town, which is called the town is called Chimney Rock. So my friend owns an Airbnb in Chimney Rock. They had a town meeting yesterday, referring to, I think, Tuesday. Someone from federal government told them all of those things in the town meeting, but doesn't want the information out yet. So what is this information? He says, I can't post it online because whatever. He says, I don't know, whatever. Okay, let me give you that. So he says, I don't know what crazy play for land is. Okay. I don't know what crazy play for land this is, but there's a lot of conspiracy about lithium mines. And let me just tell you, as someone who lives in Charlotte and has friends who live in the area of Western North Carolina, they are not being helped. And this is actually being a stand down operation by the federal government. And this has to do with, it says here, I can't post this online because it's not quite popular, whatever, but the government had a town meeting and told them, the town of Chimney Rock, that the town was being bulldozed, bodies and all, and the land was being seized by the federal government. They would not be able to move back, and basically their homes, the ones they were standing, were no longer theirs, and the federal government owned it. Okay, so if this is true, based upon information provided, we'll have to wait and see how it pans out. But we have the federal government coming in and confiscating land now. That is the eminent domain process where them people there thought they own that. They don't, because the government has greater plans for it. Then you factor in all the stuff happening with, lithium and all the natural resources within that region that obviously somebody wants. It's no coincidence BlackRock came in and bought $90 million worth of a company within that region. But anyway, so that right there, if this was to get out and go global, that our own government is turning on us, then I would imagine this could lead to some uprising where people would want to turn on our government. These are the type of grounds that would lead to civil unrest. But so we'll have to wait and see how this plays out. But these are just things that should concern each and every one of us. But I'll leave it at that. Okay. But the fact that he mentioned that there's no presence there and our government is not supporting and showing up is of concern. Then we have the article that I just grabbed today from Glenn Beck, who is currently in North Carolina. On his show, he talked about he's there. There are no FEMA helps. There may be one or two different people here from the government working, and there's no help. People are struggling, suffering. Then you have Mayor Pete orders citizens to stop using drones to find stranded victims as the feds fumble hurricane relief. So This is what's coming out of the headlines from them. So once again, if this is true, I hope not. But if this is Governor Mayor Pete who's telling his people don't fly drones, why would he not encourage people to go help their fellow man out? Unless there has been an order to stand down, do nothing, let this catastrophe roll over, so that the devastation will compound. More dead bodies, more stench, more pollution, more toxification of the land. So it makes it worthwhile for our government to come in. So this is literally a Hawaii 2.0 in the sense of Maui, like it was last year when they deliberately scorched the earth and then came in and took it. They're doing it in Carolina. And I'd imagine everywhere they're doing this is for their own World Economic Forum, private partnership type of agreements where the government confiscates land because there's either something under the ground or it's something they want to put on the ground that they want to control solely. So this goes to the idea of property rights. No matter where you're at, no matter what you think you own, when the globalists come calling, they'll find a way to get it up from you. So this is another reason to be grateful for the things you have, the blessings that you've been a part of, and realize that outside of your physical presence and your mind, your thoughts, and God's anointed presence on you, nothing else in this life is yours. You're literally just borrowing it. Literally. You're supposed to have property rights. You're supposed to have all these rights. But in the midst of a reset, as we can witness, all that might be null and void, just as a heads up. So, okay, but keeping it going. So it doesn't stop there. It doesn't stop here. Let me give you some more juice. Give you some more juice. Okay, so a lot of backlash from Kamala over her giving $750. And on top of that, the FEMA, because they've done so much for migrants that there's nothing for our own people. Biden-Harris regime burns $1 billion in FEMA funds to resettle illegal immigrants. FEMA now lacks resources for a disaster response. Okay. Biden-Harris used FEMA disaster funds for illegal immigrants. So this goes back to earlier this week, and they thought some figures. Allocated nearly $364 million for fiscal year of last year, $650 million for this year to shelter and service programs to provide humanitarian services to non-citizens following their release from the Department of Homeland Security. So literally $1 billion for starters went towards people who don't live here. They get housing for free, debit cards, monthly filled, food vouchers, cell phones. They probably even give them cars. Don't sleep on that. I'm sure some of them got cars, all in time, to cast their vote. Okay. And then we get the warning from Mariokis. Warns FEMA doesn't have enough funds to last through hurricane season. I mentioned that in a little short I did up, we got from June to November 30th. So we got a whole nother month. And I wouldn't be surprised if another trailing hurricane happens to pop up next week. Okay, keep it moving. So as a result of this, the strike and everything else, this is Wednesday, October 2nd, in Walmart in Asheville, North Carolina. Line out the building. So literally, they are hollowing out Walmart. Gone. And this is something that people should be aware of. Here we got NYC Costco shoppers, empty shelves, panic over port strike. So New York, panic buying. They hollowing these stores out, emptying them. And here you got, this is what used to be Kleenex toilet paper price section, gone. And then if you type in panic buying on the internet, you got news stories all across the country. There's a news story all throughout every last day, 16 hours, 23 hours. Look at this. I can just keep scrolling. You get all this. This is what's happening. So all this here, stories. Okay, so all panic buying. This is all within the last 24 hours. And it says here, we're on day 3 of the strike. And of course, our government is not stepping in because they don't mind this type of issue because it just gives more distraction and everything else. And a lot of people are mad over the union guy, the union rep right here, because he living good. Bentleys, Cartier glasses, yacht. Okay, he living good. So he don't mind having everybody strike because he getting his. You better believe he's getting more than what he's getting in the salary because he's getting orders from up top. You know what I'm saying? Okay, keep it moving. I can go on and on, but I'm not. Let me give you some more here. Let me give you some more juice, people. You want that juice? I'm going to bring it to you. Okay, so let's just talk on some other things that happened this week that I didn't get a chance to talk about. We had some outages of all types. So here we got, oops, give me a second. I lost one. Okay, so we had this week a outage. Verizon was out. And there's a lot of reports of people having lost contacts in their phones. And so earlier in the week, there was, a major outage where took quite some time to get back up and running. And some people say it was a hack. Some people say da da da. But a lot of Verizon carrier phones lost contacts. So it could have been through the network directly into the actual devices of people trying to distract stuff and remove stuff. So glitch, hack, I'll let you determine what it is. But that's just one story. Then the next one, Bank of America. So everybody's talked about this, but I had to definitely jump in because I'm putting all this together. Bank of America suffers outage as tens of thousands of users report struggling to get cash from ATM or check online accounts. So a lot of accounts came back zero. So imagine that. You've worked hard, or it's payday, or you just naturally, you're living your life. You check your account, it says zero. What do? Those are things people should consider because of the times we're in. Not saying it'll happen, but the banks are at the center of all this contagion. And it's yeah. So having cash on hand, as much as you need to get you through a period of time, and then beyond cash, having some borrowable items that you can use if you need to. That's where the fractional gold comes in hand. Because I personally, and this is just an afterthought, I personally would rather get rid of the things of least value to me in sequential order of value. Least important to the last. My heavier weights are at the end, and those are not meant to be utilized, God forbid, in some type of emergency. But on the other end, I have the things that I'm willing to move because they carry value to me, but then I know they carry more value to someone else. That's when you have your fractional golds, fractional silver. I got all types of stuff around here. But this is where all the smaller stuff, the dimes, the nickels, dimes, quarters, things that have silver contents in them, which people can recognize instantly. And also you have 1 gram silver bars, which equate to $1, pure $1 as of right now. So that'll be easy to move. And then beyond that, you need to say a $5, $10 item. A 1/1000th of a note is a $5 to $10 item, and so forth, because this could be a drawn out period. So consider that. Okay. Let me keep moving. So as a result of all this, Russia, China possibly been drawn in. This is something that flew under the radar as well. Russia, as a result of all the sanctions activity happening on them, they decided to confiscate some funds too. Russia court freezes funds of UPS, JP Morgan, and Mellon. And so about $372 million was withheld as a result of the funds being on Russian soil in the banks on the ledgers of these banks here. And so they are literally not receiving those funds. So this is probably Russia's way of responding by adding up and tallying up all the funds they can get access to counter the potential losses that they'll take as the EU decides to borrow or use the interest from the Russians' savings to fund Zelensky. And the U.S. has approved of using just the interest of Russian and savings to fund Zelensky, not touching the principal, just the interest. So Russia's probably doing the same on their end. They're just holding and using the interest for themselves to fund their war against Zelensky. Little tit for tat. Okay, next thing here. This is more presidential information. This stuff that just lets me know that it's not possible, but then again, he's talking about it. The end of citizenship-based taxation, according to the Trump administration. This is one of the many promises that he has put out there to get his fan base ecstatic. President Donald Trump now supports ending the double taxation of overseas Americans. All of a sudden now, he's for all this anti-taxation stuff. U.S. citizens living abroad will not owe taxes to the IRS. One huge step in the fight for economic freedom in a multi-citizenship world. So this is as a report based upon maybe a speech or something he did. I don't even listen to this anymore because him and Harris they just talk about each other and bash each other. I don't really care. So it's hard to listen to that. I didn't listen to the Vance or Waltz. I could care less. Who cares about Vance or Waltz? They're puppets on top of puppets. So anyway, that's just something worth considering. And then let me see what else I got here. That is about it. That's all I have for today. Those are just some things in the news that was worth bringing to your attention because these are things that and the perspectives you won't get from nowhere else other than alternative media. So my goal was to just connect with you guys, share with you what's happening, put it all before you, let you decide what's real, what's not, and do the best you can with it because this is what we're facing, a multi-front confrontation. And the probability that the U.S. will willingly join into this confrontation, all to protect their interests in the Middle East and at the orders of Israel. So what would that mean for us here? Probably a prolonged they're going to juice the markets. So it'll prolong the inevitable crash we've been anticipating. And also with the repo market situation, there's been a drawdown or a tapping in of the repurchasing agreement by a bank. Some say it's Bank of America, who knows, but 2.6 billion was utilized to fund operations, which lets me know the banks are still in trouble. So what better way to prevent banks from being exposed by passing another act as a result of an event that then sends those funds right into the bank's coffers, liquefying them again so that they can have some lifeline as the commercial real estate continues to suck out all the life from them and everything else. So it's just, you can put all this together. Everything seems to be falling into place according to the way they have constructed this, and we are caught in the middle. So what does that mean? With all this knowledge we now have, it just gives us time to act, to pray, and to be a blessing to other people. That's all you can do, because you can't control none of this stuff around you. So it's your perception of how all this unfolds will make a world of difference for you and your household. You can look at this as the world's coming to an end, or you can look at this as the greatest opportunity of your life, meaning that you will be called upon to do something good for your fellow neighbor, for the kingdom of God, and to tap into some of that hidden potential that you've been holding on to. That's kind of how I'm looking at this. That's just me talking to myself here. Hopefully somebody out there resonates with this. But anyway, this is what's going on. I want to take a minute, share my thoughts. Curious to hear what you guys think. If you found value, hit that thumbs up, drop a comment, and definitely look forward to bringing you more news and excitement and everything else in between, because God is good. He's on the throne. Be blessed, be safe, learn, live, laugh, and love, and let God do the rest. Shalom.